kept a copy of the Living Christ on my binder, in the front of my binder at school to help me memorize it, and I ended up getting a lot of questions about it and giving 3 away to my teachers at school.
At one of the family home meaning lessons, Dane saw that Juliana had put a picture of the temple with the line that said, "The purpose of our life on earth." And he said, "Mom, that's really what it's all about, isn't it?" And that was just so cool to me that through the Living Christ, my children were developing a testimony of what was really important.
I memorized the best by saying the words out loud, and now that I have it all memorized, I still love times when I can say it out loud and just feel the spirit and the power of the words.
Jehovah. Good job. What's this a picture of? A world. And this is our picture that went with all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. What's that?
Between the bathroom where our little class had gone and back to the primary room, and they passed the foyer where the picture of the second coming was depicted on the wall. The primary teacher took these little 4-year-olds and said, "This is the second coming. This is when Jesus will come again." Elias looked at this and said, verbatim, "And yes, and every knee shall bend, and every tongue shall speak in worship before him." You think about that. She could extract out of that long dialogue those 2 lines, repeat them appropriately, and understand what they meant at 4.
For me, the second paragraph is the one that had by far the most meaning for me and lives the most in me now.
Countless moments where we would start to recite it as a family and the whole mood would change in the room. The spirit would come in and the kids could feel of it, and we'd talk about it, and you could just feel the power of this amazing proclamation.
When I say the living Christ, it makes me feel good inside.
Commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ 2 millennia ago.
We offer our testimony of the reality of his righteous life
And the infinite virtue of his great atoning sacrifice.
None other has had so profound an influence
Upon all who have lived and will yet live upon the earth.
He is the great Jehovah of the Old Testament, the Messiah of the New.
The person of his Father, he is the creator of the earth. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made.
Though sinless, he was baptized to fulfill all righteousness.
He went about doing good, yet was despised for it. His gospel was a message of peace and goodwill.
He entreated all to follow his example.
He walked the roads of Palestine, healing the sick, causing the blind to see, and raising the dead.
He taught the truths of eternity,
The reality of a primordial existence.
the purpose of our life on earth,
and the potential for the sons and daughters of God in the life to come.
He instituted the sacrament as a reminder of his great atoning sacrifice.
He was arrested and condemned on spurious charges, convicted to satisfy a mob, and sentenced to die on Calvary's cross.
He gave his life to atone for the sins of all mankind.
His was a great vicarious gift in behalf of all who would ever live upon the earth.
We solemnly testify that his life, which is central to all human history, neither began in Bethlehem nor concluded on Calvary.
he was the firstborn of the Father, the only begotten Son in the flesh.
The Redeemer of the world.
He was from the grave.
To become the first fruits of them that slept.
As risen Lord, he visited among those he had loved in life. He also ministered among his other sheep.
In ancient America.
He and his father appeared to the boy Joseph Smith,
Ushering in the long-promised dispensation of the fullness of times.
Of the living Christ, the prophet Joseph looked.
His eyes were as a flame of fire.
The hair of his head was white like the pure snow.
His countenance shone above the brightness of the sun.
His voice was as the sound of the rushing of great waters.
Even the voice of Jehovah saying,
I'm the first and the last.
I am he who liveth, I am he who was slain.
I am your advocate with the Father.
Of him the prophet also declared,
And now after the many testimonies which have been given of him, this is the testimony last of all which we give of him, that he lives.
For we saw him even on the right hand of God. And we heard the voice bearing record that he is the only begotten of the Father.
By him and through him?
And
the inhabitants thereof are begotten sons and daughters unto God.
we declare in word of solemnity
that his priesthood
and his church
have been restored upon the earth, built upon the foundation of apostles and prophets,
Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone.
He testified that he will someday return to earth, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
He will rule as King of kings and reign as Lord of lords.
Every knee shall bend, and every tongue shall speak, and worship before him.
Each of us will stand to be judged of him according to our works and the desires of our hearts.
We bear testimony as his duly ordained apostles that Jesus is the living Christ, the immortal Son of God.
He is the great King Emmanuel,
Who stands today at the right hand of the Father. He is the life,
And hope
hope,
of the world.
our.
His way is the path that leads to happiness in this life and eternal life in the world to come. God be thanked for the matchless gift of his divine Son.